Good morning, Rabbi Isai. What a day, what a day. I feel it. Hoimer Hare Alai B'machvas. You know that there are two types of Menachos. There's many types of Menachos. But two that are very, very similar, but done in, they're baked in different ways. One is a machvas, a very short, like a pan, flat pan. And one is a marcheshes, round, shallow, thank you, shallow pan. And one is a marcheshes, a deep pan. They have the same ingredients, but one burns off the oil quicker and therefore is a harder, like almost like a matzah kind of thing. The other one is more like a lafa, more like a chewier kind of dough. If you remember, we had
Do you have a frying vessel? Would you like a machavat or a margeshet?
The art is amazing. The havar is a little annoying to me.
Same. According to Rabbi Yosei Haglili, a marcheshet had a cover, while a mahavat had no cover. And according to Rabbi Chanina and Gamliel, the mahavat is shallow, so there's no room for the oil, so the mancha comes out hard. While the margeshet is deep, it bakes in the oil and comes out soft.
Okay, so if a person promises, he makes a neder, I'll bring a machvas, I'll bring a shallow frying pan, vehevi b'marcheshes, and they end up bringing the deeper one, it's a completely different mincha. So he's not yoitza. He has to bring another one. B'marcheshes, vehevi b'machvas, the opposite. He said, I'm going to bring the chewy one, the thicker one, vehevi b'machvas, and he brought the flat one. Mashehevi hevi. So you don't have to throw it out. Why? Because mistama, he had another nedava. He had something else going on in his mind. He did another nedava, a different time. But this that he promised, a shallow one, and he brought a deep one, you weren't yotzi, you start over. But don't throw out the one you brought because maybe it's for something else. What Rabbi Isai, think about for a second, you'll all know the answer. If somebody says zu, this flour right here, zu, is that called a neder or an adava? How do you know? Zdaiv, zu. So, but what does it mean? What does it mean it's an adava? It means that if you point at something, say this, then that it's this. You can't change it. Zu lahavi b'machvas. You point to this flour, you say, this flour I want to go in a shallow frying pan, vehevi, but he took this flour and he put it in a deep one, now he made a puzzle. Made a puzzle. You can't talk about this particular flour and change its designation from shallow to deep. And the reverse also, zu, it doesn't say zu, but he said zu, b'marcheshes vehevi b'machvas. He pointed to the flour, to the bag. This whole bag is going to go in a deeper one. But I went in a shallow one, harei psula. Now you can't even use it. Ha'omer harei alai shnei esroinos. Yesterday I told Benny this mashal, so I think I'll just say it over. If somebody promises to bring to the Beis Hamikdash 2 animals, 200-pounders, and he brings one 200-pound animal, yoitza or not yoitza? No way, not yoitza, but it's the same amount of pounds. It's a different type of thing. If a person says, I'm going to bring 2 menachos, 2, each one requires its own kmitza, its own aktara, but he doubles it up. Instead of a typical mincha is how much? 1 isarein. So he brings 2 isreinim. But he did it in 1 kli, not yaitza, because he promised 2. And the same in reverse. If he promises 1 and he brings 2, so let's say with an animal, he promises 1 gezunta, hefty 200-pounder, and instead he brings 2 smaller ones, 100, but he did double. Well, it's good. No, not good, because he promised a 200-pounder and he didn't bring a 200-pounder. If a person promises 1 mincha of 2 esroidim, and he splits it up to 2, it's not that he did double, he didn't bring what he promised. He said, I'm going to bring 2. I'm going to bring, double measurement, but I'm only going to bring it in 1 vessel. He ended up bringing in 2. So basically, he doesn't have the right amount in the kli. He doesn't have the right kelim. So you continue bringing it. Again, perhaps another time he made such a neder and it was 2. So let him bring the 2, and I'll have to bring a different time the 1. But now, here's an interesting case. Oh no, Elu. Now the same thing, if he points at it, instead of saying zu, he says Elu, this is the flour. Maybe B'shnei Kalim. B'shnei Kalim behavi b'kli echad. He specified the flour that's supposed to go in, but he ruined it by putting it into different types of vessels, 2 instead of 1, 1 instead of 2. Harei psulim, because he already designated the flour, this flour, like in a dava, zu, elu, and you can't change it. Same case, Rabbi Yisai. Same exact case, but there's a little variation at the end. Harei alai shnei esroinos lahavi b'kli echad, ve'hevi shnei klein. He said, I'm going to bring 2 esroinim in 1 vessel. And he brought it in 2. That's exactly what we had before. But, Amrulai, his friends are standing there and say, what are you doing? Amrulai, b'kli echad nadarta. What are you doing? You're messing up. So if he ignores it, what's the whole svar over here? How come you could continue bringing your carbon even though you mess up? Because perhaps yesterday you made another neder, and it fits your other neder and nobody knows about it. But if your friends are making a comment, they're trying to fix it, and you don't tell your friends, hey, no, you got it wrong. I made a neder yesterday. You're right. You heard me say 2 kalim, but right now I'm bringing 1 kli because on Sunday I said 1 kli. You should explain yourself. If somebody says something, if you just ignore them, that means you don't care. If you don't care, that means you're messing up now. What are you doing? Why are you bringing 2? If he listened to them, that's not a chiddush. He listened. He changes his whole mahal. Share then it's kosher. If he promised to bring 2 esroinim and 2 kalim, he messed up on the amount of kalim. Instead of bringing 2 klisharas, he brought in 1. His friends again make a remark. What are you doing? Why are you bringing in 1? You said 2. If you brought in 2, you listen to them, you change your route. Here's the little difference. But if you put into 1 kli, this has halacha. If anybody recalls, we learned about this. When you have 2 menachos that get mixed up, so if they're not completely mixed in, and you can make out the 2 menachos. You see, this is mincha aleph, this is mincha beis. They're both on the bottom of a giant frying pan. So you just take a kmitza and you go weiter. Nothing happened. If they're mixed in, then you have a problem. Says the Gemara, utzricha. The kids are simple tzrichusa here. Why do I need 2 different cases of a guy messing up between a frying pan and a deep dish, and a guy messing up between 2 esroidim and 1 esroidim? It's the same idea. So, diashmin and hakamaisa, mishum da omar, if we're just talking about a person promised to bring in a marcheshes and he brought a machvas, mishum da omar, v'kamaisa marcheshes. Okay, that's why you completely messed up the type of mincha. It's a different type. You bring the same type. You brought the right amount. It's the right amount, just not in the right kalim. So I think I'll let it go, let it slide. Maybe he doesn't have to redo it. No, you have to redo it. And if it only said the case of the amounts and the kalim, at the end of the day, you're breaking up your carbon. You promised a gezunta 2 esroinim, what's 2 esroinim, like 10 pounds, and instead of you brought 2 5-pounders. No good. The kapaliglu, but by the marcheshes, you brought the right amount. You just brought the wrong kli. I'll let it slide. I don't know exactly why, but I would think so. Tzricha. Tana Rabbanan. Mashahevi hevi videi nidre liyotza. We learned that you could bring it, but you have to bring again. You continue. You don't throw it into the garbage. It's okay. It's a good. He probably had another nether in mind, but he has to bring another one. Reb Shimon Omer afi nidroi nami yotza. In all the Mishnah, in every case, if a person said a marcheshes and he brought a machvas, marcheshes, you yotza. Zu lahavi b'machvas. If he said only this flour I want to bring in a pan, and he ended up bringing it in a marcheshes, it's possible. Why is it possible? Take it out of the marcheshes and start all over again. What did the pan do? What did the marcheshes do? We learned that the klisharis doesn't have an effect on it. You're right. It doesn't have an effect to the point that you can continue bringing it onto the mizbeach. Which we had the other day. It has enough effect to ruin it. A person on Sunday says, I want to bring a carbon mincha to the Beis Hamikdash. And on Monday, he goes to the store and he buys a bag of flour and he takes out from the flour. So when exactly does he decide that he's going to bring a frying pan and a deep dish? At the time of his neder, when he specifies, I'm going to bring a mincha, a marcheshes. Not when he pulls the flour out of the bag. At that point, it's too late. You can't decide then. According to Reb Shimon, you decide all at the end. When you're removing the flour from the bag, loy. Why? Kasher says in the pasuk, as you make a neder, a vow, but not when you are separating and removing and putting aside the flour. Itmar nami. Omar Reb Acha Reb Chanino, Omar Reb Asi, Omar Reb Yochanan. Lo shanu elo shekevam b'shas neder. B'shas afrashalai. You have to say by the time that you say the neder, it's all about. Once again, you see the idea. It's about your speech, your dibur, not the ma'isa of removing the flowers. When you say, I'm going to bring a mincha, elo shekevam b'shas neder, b'shas afrashalai. Why? Kasher nedarta v'loi. Kasher hifrashto. Zok the Mishnah. Harei ha'omer, harei olai mincha min hasoirim. There's something called tfois lashon rishon, tfois lashon achron. It's a musing in all of Shas. A guy contradicts himself. He says shtusim. So do I take the first part of the sentence? Harei olai mincha. Period. Soirim, bananas, shtusim. I don't. Everybody knows you don't make a mincha out of banana, so that part I ignore. Or perhaps no. The guy was saying, I really mincha. All of a sudden he realized, wait a minute, mincha, I have to drive now all the way to the kaisel. Bananas. So I'm going to erase what I said by saying shtusim, and that's going to erase the. So it's a machlokes between Bisham and Yisrael. Do I go by the first? Do I go by the beginning, or go by the end? He messed up. He contradicted himself. I want a mincha, but I want it out of barley. Every mincha in the world is made out of wheat, besides two that are not nogeya today. Yavi menachitim. We say he meant to bring a mincha. Soirim, I ignore. What if he says kemach? I want to bring it out of flour. Again, only a soita brings kemach. Everybody else brings soilas. Yavi soilas. Bring it like a bench. If he says b'loy shemen or b'loy levayna. Those of us who learned Menachos, what mincha does not have oil? You know how the Israelis remembered? They said Mendi Auerbach. They all remember that. They remembered how, why a guy that does a sin, he should gain and he shouldn't have to pay the $2 that the oil cost. So that's how you remember. A chayta does not bring oil. He messed up. The only people, he's not bringing a mincha because he's a chayta. He's not bringing a mincha because he's a saita or a shaita. He's bringing a mincha because he wants to bring a mincha. So he messed up. Yavi shemen u'levayna. We ignore him. The second part of his statement, disregard. First part of the statement, harei mincha, bring a mincha like a mensch with levayna, with silas. What if he says chatzi isarin? He has it. We all know a mincha must be at least one isarin. He ignores it. Yavi isarin shalem. We ignore him, and he brings a full isarin. Isar de mechza, this is a good one. What about Isar 1.5? Yavi shnai. There's such thing as 1.5, so bring 2. Reb Shimon poiter. Reb Shimon says every case in this Mishnah, potter. If a guy says, I want to bring a mincha made out of barley, he doesn't have to bring anything. Shlo yisnadev kiderech hamisnadvim, because that's not how people say it. So if he said it the wrong way, that means he wanted to erase his initial comment. Instead of just saying no, he says sayrim, and sayrim means nothing. Amai neder pischoy imayu. Isn't he trying to change, rectify, whatever the lashon is? He in the neder, he has an opening. Omer Chizkiya, Homani Bishamai. Oh, so here's the machlokes Beisil and Bishamai. Beisil will say, before I show you this, let me just show you the characters. The characters, you have Soilas and Soirim. Soilas is the number one. Most of the Menachos are made out of Soilas. And who's the last man standing? The Rishon and Soirim is Loshen Achron. So when you see the Soilas, Beisil say the Achron stands. The barley is the one standing. Tfos Loshen Achron. And Mishami say Tfos Loshen Rishon. You go by the first part of the statement. Beisil say you go by the second part of the statement. Says Chizkiya, I go with Beishamai. Our Mishnah goes like Bishamai. Again, a person says, Hare alai mincha, I want a mincha, so he has to bring a mincha. The second part of the statement, Sa'irim, I ignore that, disregard. So twice, Lashon Rishon, Chizki says this Mishnah goes like Bishamai. Slightly problematic because we go like Beisilo. How do we fit this Mishnah into Beisilo? Homani Bishami, the army twice Lashon Rishon. This nan, Hareini Nazir min agroigrois. A person looks and he says, I want to be a Nazir. A Nazir is somebody that refrains from grape product. He doesn't drink wine, grapes. And he looks at the figs and he says, I'm going to be a Nazir from figs. So again, once again, we have a Palgina Dibura. We have Hareini Nazir, period. I'm going to refrain from grapes. Figs, disregard figs. So that's the classic machlokes. It's not Hareini Nazir min agroigrois, min adveila. Dveila is, Iguli Dveila, something like this, where they press the figs together. So his words contradict each other. Bishami Yoimrim Nazir. Bishami said he's a complete Nazir and we disregard. So in other words, twice Lashon Rishon, let's grab the first words, disregard the second. And in Nazir, we go by the second words. He meant refraining from figs and that doesn't exist. So that's Chizki. Chizki says, I go with Beishamai, everything's great. Says Rabbi Yochanan, I prefer to go with Beis Hillel. And in fact, the Gemara is going to say that Chizki also goes with Beis Hillel at the end. Rabbi Yochanan, Afilu Teima Beis Hillel, we could go with Beis Hillel. Ba'oimer, ilu eisi yedea she'noidrim kach, lo eisi noide kach elokach. Says Rabbi Yochanan, I go, even though Beis Hillel says typically twice Lashon Achroid, and he said barley, and there's no such thing barley, but he explains himself. If a person explains himself right away, he says, listen, I didn't do the daf. I don't know anything about mincha. I try to be a smart guy. That's what I have at home. I said, let me bring a mincha out of barley. If I would have known there's no such thing, I wouldn't have said it. I would have said wheat. Okay, so bring a mincha out of wheat. I'm explaining what you're doing. Omar Chizkiya. Sa'irim is something that exists in the Beis HaMikdash by a Sait and by Oimer. So okay, so he messed up a little bit. If a person said, I want to bring a mincha from lentils, that's what Rabbi Aryeh Simon was asking. Loi. He's completely potter. Ask the Gemara, what's going on here? L'chayra, if you say Tfais Lashon Rishon, so the guy says, I want to bring a mincha. Period. End the story, bring a mincha. The fact that he added on a watermelon or lentils, ignore. He holds like Bishamai. And they go, you just use the first words. So what difference does it make if he said Sarim or Dashim? Says the Gemara, Hadarbe. He actually holds, I forgot to put this in here. If you go, Mincha and Adashim, Potter, why? Because you're going by the Adashim. And that's why he's Potter. So in other words, I hold Tfais Lashon Achron. How can you hold Tfais Lashon Achron when you hold Tfais Lashon Rishon? Rabbi Yochanan, on the other hand, says it's problematic also. He says that if a person says mincha and adashim, you're chayiv to bring a mincha. That means that I stop. I go mincha, period. So that means I go by Lashon Rishon. But he holds like a basil that says Lashon Achron, but that's not the Gemara's kaddish. So, Hadarbe. The real question is, why Hadarbe? Why did he take it back? Maybe there's a difference between adashim and sa'irim, and that's what the Gemara is going to ask. By adashim, there's no mistake. By Sarim, you can make a mistake because that's in the Beis HaMikdash. But nobody, even a guy that never learned Menachos in his life knows that you cannot bring a mincha out of lentils. Ask anybody, go to shul tonight, you can ask them, is a mincha made out of barley or wheat? Nobody will know. But if you ask them, is a mincha made out of lentils or wheat? They'll tell you, no, not lentils. Not for sure not. Yeah. That's 2026, not then. Hodebe. Says Gemara, my time, Hodebe. What's the real reason? He had a problem with the Mishnah. Chizkiah. If it's true that the Mishnah goes like Bishamai, they go with the first words and we don't go with the second words. Tell me a much bigger chiddush. When a person, if you go with Lashon Rishon, a person says mincha, so even if he adds on something silly like lentils, we still go with it. The whole point of the Mishnah is that we go, it's a mistake. You can make an honest mistake between flour from wheat versus flour from barley, because in the Beis HaMikdash you have barley also sometimes. Here, coming up, we have the Omer coming up, it's made out of barley. But nobody's going to make that mistake. If a person says, like you see on the right bottom corner, if a person says mincha and adashim, you have to bring it. Why? Michti Rabbi Yochanan Kaman Amar L'Shmaite, he holds that the whole Mishnah is going to Beis Hillel. Well, Beis Hillel Mishnah to tell you. And the whole point of Beis Hillel is why, even though they typically hold, you go by the last words. And the last words were Sa'irim, and that's a no-gooder. But the reason why we go with the Lashon Rishon here is because he made a mistake. He explained himself. He said, had I known, I wouldn't have said Sa'irim. B'shun Tayu, B'Sa'irim Tayi, Ba'adashim, Loi Tayi. In fact, but in Adashim he doesn't make a mistake. So you should go with Lashon Achrein, according to Beis Hillel. Says Gemara, L'dvar the Chizki Kamarlei. Rabbi Yochanan goes like Beis Hillel, but he's telling Chizki, I don't understand you. Why did you come to my team? Why did you reverse your shita? You went from saying that the Mishnah goes according to Bishavai to the Mishnah goes according to Beis Hillel. That I have a problem with. Why? Stay on your team. Your whole svara is, you proved it from the Mishnah that the Mishnah used the word Sa'irim instead of Adashim. Dilma, maybe that's not such a great question. Dilma, maybe the Mishnah was saying, that certainly, there's no chiddush in Adashim because a person took it back and he's going with the first language. The reason the Mishnah uses the Lashon of Sa'irim is because maybe in Fakert, in Sa'irim, a person can make a mistake. And I feel a Hagit was Lashon Rishon, still go with the first Lashon. Daf, Kuv Gimel, Amid Beis, brand new sugi. Omar Ziri Lishanu, Elo do Omar Mincha. When a guy says, this whole thing that twice Lashon Rishon, Rabbi side, you got the first words in a sentence is because he said, Harei Olai Mincha. The Omar Mincha. He says, Harei, I want to bring a Mincha. Avaloi Omar Mincha. But if he didn't say Harei Olai Mincha, what did he say? Says Rashi, listen, this is a little tricky. You got to write it in with your pencil. He said, Harei Olai Minchas. It's a big difference. If a person says Harei Olai Mincha Sa'irim, so I could split his words. Anybody that speaks Hebrew knows. Harei Olai Mincha, period. Sa'irim is another sentence. But when a person says Harei Olai Minchas Sa'irim, the Sa'irim goes together with the word Minchas. You cannot split those two words. They're together. Minchas Sa'irim. It's a Mincha of. Minchas means Mincha of Sa'irim. I can't break his words. And therefore, you don't say Pagin Dibura, he would be Potter. Because he said specifically, you can't make two sentences out of one sentence. If you can't make two sentences out of what he said, so what he said is a contradiction and shtusim, and therefore he's Potter. So Rav Nachman said this over. Rav Nachman asked, what about in the Mishnah that says, Kemach, the Mishnah doesn't say what he said. It doesn't say in the Mishnah, Harei Olai Kemach. L'chayra, Kemach Yovi Soilus. My love, D'lo Yomar Mincha. He didn't say Harei Olai Mincha Kemach. He probably said, looks like in the Mishnah that he said, Harei Olai Mincha. Harei Olai Kemach. Sorry, Harei Olai Kemach, he said. Now, a person, Rashi explains, a person doesn't say anything levatala. A person doesn't just stop say things. So Mela, when he says Harei Olai Mincha, then he's being serious. Harei Olai Kemach. My love, D'lo Yomar Mincha. Even without saying Mincha, he's chayiv. So the Gemara, Damar Mincha, no, you have to say, he said, no, only in a case where he said Harei Olai Mincha, like Ziri says. Now, so freebie. Below Shem Levina says also the Mishnah. Yavi Shem Levina. Malav. D'lo Yomar Mincha. D'lo Damar Mincha. He said Mincha. Chatzi Sarin. Yavi Sarin Shah. Malav D'lo Yomar Mincha. Lo Damar Mincha. But the Gemara is setting up this question. Yahachim Seifa. What about the end of the Mishnah? It says Isarim Mechsa Yavi Shnayim. If a person said 1.5, he has to bring 2. Even though Amar Mincha. So ask the Gemara. Once a person says the word Mincha, according to you, Ziri, he says Mincha. Then you say twice Lashon Rishon. When a person says Mincha, then the first thing that he said is good. Why is he chayiv 2? He didn't say anything on the second part is nothing. His twice Lashon Rishon goes on a full Mincha. The second part of Chatzi is nothing. If you want, we can see Taisis real quickly. Bishlami Taisis de Ramatzkel Lihachi Ema Seifa Yisarim Mechza. Bishlami Eloi Omar Mincha Mighty Trey. If he didn't say the word Mincha, he has to bring 2. Boimir Eli Yisei there because he explains himself away. If I would have known. Elo Kivin de Omar Mincha Yisarim Mechza. But if he says the word Mincha and he says the word Yisarim Umechza, so the word Mincha goes on the Yisarim and a Mechza is nothing. Amai maybe Trey. Why should he bring 2? You, Ziri, say you have to say the word mincha. So now he did say mincha, but only on one of the two words. Ziri says if you don't say the word mincha, Taisus gives a better knetch here. If you don't say the word mincha, you don't have to bring it all. So over here he said mincha, isarin v'chetzi. So the mincha is going to go on the isarin part, and on the chetzi he never said mincha on it. So you shouldn't bring it all. Says Gemara, you're right. When he didn't say 1.5, he said 1/2 and 1. And the word time out. So look what the Gemara does here. A little different than what you think. Yeah, we're changing it around a little bit. The kivin d'amar mincha. So the word mincha right there and then means a full isar. Mincha. If a guy says how much does he have to bring? 1 isar, without explaining how many isarinas. And when he says I want to bring a half, on the half part we're going to disregard completely. And then you hear what's going on here? Nachamal. He says mincha, that's 1. He says chatzi, that's 0. And then he says isarin, that's another 1. 1 plus 1 equals 2, that's why he says to bring 2. But if he really says mincha in this Mishnah, I don't understand. You're telling me that a person doesn't say dvar of levatala. A person, he said over here, mincha. So why does Reb Shimon say he doesn't have to bring anything? He said arei mincha. He should at least have to bring. He should have to bring an isar. Amai amarava Reb Shimon Shitas Reb Yosi Amara. He also Reb Yosi. There's another slightly different shita. We have tfais lashon rishon. We have tfais lashon achron, and then we have a shita that combines the two and says, listen, if there's a mishka babel, if there's a stira here, then we have to disregard everything. We have to consider every statement that he says. So we're going to consider the first statement and the second statement, but they contradict each other. Says Rabbi, so nothing. That's why he doesn't bring anything, according to Rabbi Shimon. Zogt the Heilige Mishnah. And here we're going to come to one of the a classic. I can't wait. We had this already. It's like CHAZARAH for us. A person brings a giant kli of 60 isarin. A typical mincha is 1 isarin. Maximum is 60. That's the maximum. That could go in one vessel. But what if he goes over the limit? He does 61. Maybe it seems from the Mishnah that you bring 1 kli that has 60 and 1 kli that has 1. Don't break it 30 and 31, just 60 and 1. Shekain hatzibur maybe beyond the rishon shechag on Sukkos shechalu is b'Shabbos. That's the most karbanos you could ever bring. Shishim ve'echad. Here, let me show you a beautiful thing that Yoshi did here. Every sheep you bring 1 isarin. You see, they're holding 1 isarin in their hands. And the aisle is 2 isarin per aisle. Cows are 3. 13 times 3 is how much? 39. 18 times 1 is how many? Very good. 2 times 2 is 4. So 4 plus 18 is how much? 22. And 22 plus 39 is 61. Even if you don't know math, you can cheat and look at the top. It says 61. 61 isarin. So that's the max, 61 isarin. So he says, if the tzibur brings, this is interesting, no one's going to love this one. If the tzibur brings 61, you know what? Take 1 off the community of an individual. An individual can bring up to 60. Reb Shimon doesn't make any sense what he's saying. These 39 that you bring with the cows, with the bulls, these 18 of the sheep, they never go into the same bowl. How did you just make a mincha that has 60 in one bowl when the bulls and the sheep never go in one bowl? It's also for you to mix it. You can't mix different types of menachos. The point is, physically speaking, you cannot mix more than 60. Makes no sense what you're saying. 60 you could, but 61 not. Amar lahem, kol midos, midos, with a tough at end. Kol midos chachamim kein. What are you talking about? Everything in halach is like that. Barbaim so toivel. It says you need 40 saw to be toivel. Ubarbaim saw chotzer kartoiv eino yachal litva b'hem. But 40 minus 1 little drop, the smallest amount, you cannot do tefillah. Shol she'ilah, they asked the question, Lamalam Rabbi Yehuda bar Eloi from Yehuda bar Eloi. Maybe so this is Chazara. How do you know if a person says 61, maybe Shishim Kli Echad, you can bring 61 Kli Echad Kli Echad? Pasach Rabbi Yehuda bar Eloi, Roshim Medar Mechol Makayim, the famous Gemara, if anybody wants to remember this Gemara, Rabbi Yehuda bar Eloi in the famous story of Shimon bar Yochai. Shimon bar Yochai, coming up, Mamish, like Boimer, Shimon bar Yochai. If you want to remember where that story of Shimon bar Yochai is, everybody knows, Shabbos Daf, Lamed Gimel, Lag Boimer. So it says over there that that's why they started calling him Rabbi Yehuda, Roshim Medar Mechol. That's the whole story that started the whole fight. The Romans wanted to kill Shimon bar Yochai because Rabbi Yehuda bar Eloi, he stuck up for the Romans. V'chulu. He said, "Va'amar shekem atzinu tzibur mivim biyantav v'rishon shachal liyis b'shabbos shishim ve'echad." This whole thing that we just said, Dai liyachad shivchas min atzibur echad. So in Beis Hamikdash you bring 61 Esrainim, the Yachad will bring 60. This you mix in the morning, this you mix in the evening. They don't go together. So what taka the pshat? Bring something that you can mix. What? 60 you can mix? 61 you can't? Here, this guy, like this. This is how it goes in the whole Torah. There's nothing you can do about it. It says 40 saw. The smallest amount of liquid. Listen to this. This you have to remember. Because in the video you're going to see, you're not going to understand what it is. You need a full egg to become tamei from a sheretz. If it's less than an egg, then it's not tamei. Less than an egg is not tamei. Chaser shum shum, some people sum sum, 1 sesame seed. Oh, so let's do midras. Let's do medidos. My boy said, check this out. I love this. Medidos with the measuring tape.
Oh, yes, this is it.
No.
It's not kosher. Now it's kosher.
אוי ואבוי, הוסייר שלך הוא חציצה, חציצה בתפילין.
Of course there is a chatzitza, chatzitze. What are you talking? There is no chatzitza.
Maybe let go of me?
Is that Benny?
Shah, be quiet and let two Talmidei Chachamim argue in learning.
Okay, let's just finish up here. Shloisha metamim medris. 3 tfachim and 3 tfachim. It gives tumah for a zav, a nida that sit on a chair, on a piece of beged. Shloisha chaser nimachas. If it's missing 1 hair breadth, einoi metamim tumas medris. Rabbi Sai, have a wonderful day.